Hi and welcome along to this week's edition of Four Wheels Good here on Granada's Men and Motors channel, the only motoring programme to run right the way throughout the year. Well, this week we have a wide selection as always. Stirling Moss will be telling us about his secret desire to drive the pace car at the Grand Prix, and we'll look behind the scenes of a classic car auction. But first, the weather's getting better, the old saloon's looking kind of boring standing on your drive, and you have this strong inner desire to get behind the wheel of something with real character to make you feel good. Well, we have two suggestions for you. Later on, Ginny Buckley will be introducing you to an all-American muscle car. But first, Will Hoy has something a little more, well, traditional.
How macho are you? Do you regard a Ford Probe as a bit of a challenge? If yes, you won't like this. If no, say hello to the Morgan Plus 8, a unique combination of 1930s looks and 3.9 V8 engine. It's one mean machine. This car cannot excite indifference. For various reasons, it's love or hate at first sight. Pull up at the lights and most people will give it the thumbs up for looks. Some give it the thumbs down for a price tag of £29,500 and the thought of a 5-year waiting list. It's just not in the spirit of the thing to drive with the roof up, even in very bad weather, and I can see why. It's like riding a bucking bronco through a tunnel, but at least the view down that louvered bonnet is terrific. And in good weather, you can see 60 miles an hour come up in about 6 seconds. This particular car is used by the factory to try out new features, and the prototype hood might still look untidy when it's down. They'll sort that out, but it is simplicity itself to remove when it's not actually bucketing down. Now, I personally love the overall simplicity of the interior, and the little fly-off handbrakes, fun to use if you can find it. But I hate the dashboard. This threatens to be the basis of a new layout. Pay more and you can get something much flashier in wood. But with this one, you can't see the speedo and the rev counter properly, and these switches look as though they come from some home-built disaster. Morgan, please don't do it. Just listen to those 190 brake horses pulling a lightweight car like this, and we're not talking Shetland ponies, are we? Hang on tight, be ready for a hard ride and concentrate, or you'll be off sideways. Now, if you enjoy listening to your cool jazz CDs or chatting away on the cell phone, then you'll hate every minute in here. If, on the other hand, you're prepared to focus totally on what you're doing and flatter yourself that you have a precise touch with the machinery, then you'll have to be pulled out of the saddle, as I will. This is one for Will to make fly, I think.
A Morgan is like nothing else on earth, particularly the Plus 8 version. It's a car for Rocket Man. The first thing that strikes you about this car is the explosive acceleration. It's got massive torque, which gives excellent mid-range performance, all important for that very iffy overtaking manoeuvre. The top speed is just 125 miles an hour, not a lot, but to my mind what's more important is how it gets you there. That sort of power would be fine in a scientifically honed contemporary car, but this car's suspension with its leaf springs at the rear and sliding pillar steering at the front, mated to a steel ladder frame chassis, is totally prehistoric. It's a real seat-of-the-pants experience. The good experience comes on winding, twisty, but smooth roads, where the lack of suspension travel and body roll make it a really great drive. Seat-of-the-pants experience which comes when you show a Morgan a bump. Hits a few bumps at speed and a pilot's license could come in very handy. Add a bit of rain and things can deteriorate even further. You may think I'm knocking this car, but I'm most definitely not. It's the most rewarding and involving car to drive. Once you know how it reacts, and provided you've got good reactions, then it's just huge, huge fun. Booted in a slow corner and you can provoke oversteer at will. Not that I suggest you try it on the open road, otherwise it's got a comforting tendency to understeer, unless that is, you're airborne. This is not a car for wimps.
Yes, one of life's great sensations to have an open-top car on a clear road when the sun is in the sky. But let's not get too sentimental. If it's real power under your pedal you desire, wait till later on in the programme when we'll discover how man has tamed a true beast in the world of automotive sports cars. But first, it's always fascinating to see what cars people in the public eye drive. And over the next few weeks, we'll be looking inside the garages of quite a few celebrities. Well, this week, Nicky discovers the four-wheel passions of record producer Pete Waterman.
Famous cars and famous owners go hand in hand. This historic Ferrari is owned by Cheshire-based pop music mogul Pete Waterman. So which particular Ferrari is this?
This is a 60s Lusso. It's got a Le Mans body off a 330 GTO on it. We race this. I don't like them as museum objects. I think that, you know, if you get a car with this much power and you've got to use it for what it was built for.
Do you race yourself?
No, I'm not good enough. A lot of people have driven this, you know. Sterling Moss once said he took his child out in it and said it made his willy tingle, you know, and it's about right, that, for this car.
A willy tingler. Has this car been to Italy?
Not this one, but I have a Testarossa, a 57 Testarossa, which is my pride and joy, and I did the Mille Miglia in it.
Oh.
And part of the course it was, you know, we went to the factory, and as we went to the factory, obviously it's got no top on it, going through the gates, and there's this old man at the gates jumping up and down, very excited. And my co-pilot said to me, you know who that is? And I said, no. He said, that's Enzo Ferrari. Do you want to have a look at the engine? Because the engine on this is a bit special. And as they say, this is what it's all about.
Oh, gosh.
This has got a racing induct on top of the carburetors. They're all Webers. It's 12 cylinders, it's 250cc per cylinder. There's something about a Ferrari engine with 12 cylinders, flat out, you know, and it sings some better than some of my stars, I reckon, sometimes. When you see somebody who knows how to drive and can use it, that to me is the pleasure.
So obviously with all that history behind it, it's a fairly rare car.
Well, it's unique. This is the only one. This is it. You know, it's there's not another one like it. Used to be in British Racing Green, but you know, there's only one Ferrari, and it's a red Ferrari.
Well, I knew he was into trains, but there's something about the Ferrari, isn't there? And if you have a yearning for powerful muscle cars from the States, we've got a treat for you after this break. Hi and welcome back to Four Wheels Good. Well, before our next feature, another date for your diary. The first week of June will see a very special edition of Four Wheels which will focus on women drivers. Does Stirling Moss really think that the signal women make when they have their hand out the window is that they're actually drying their nails? Well, what do champion rally queens the Semonite sisters get out of their sport? And what does model Yasmin Le Bon think of men's attitudes towards women drivers? All will be revealed as we broadcast the world premiere of Yasmin Mill's new documentary, Bloody Women Drivers. It includes Chloe Mason, who races vintage cars and is also the daughter of Pink Floyd's Nick Mason. 89-year-old Doris, who's been driving the same car since 1943. And Julie Rain, who's been a London cabbie for 15 years. So that's a Four Wheels Good special in the first week of June. Don't miss it. But hey, don't think that we normally give the best cars to the boys.
You know those days when you just wake up in the morning and life is sweet? The sun's shining, the sky's blue, and you've got a fantastic day ahead of you? Well, today is one of those days for me, because today I'm going racing in a Viper with a Le Mans driver. And the car I was racing in, the Chrysler Viper GTSR. Yes, the arrival at the 1993 Detroit Motor Show of Chrysler's latest concept vehicle, the stunning-looking Viper GTS Coupe, set quite a few wheels in motion, if you pardon the pun. No more than a design study, Chrysler had no plans for the coupe to even go into production. But the interest it provoked convinced them otherwise, and within a few months of its first appearance, the vehicle was in production. By March '96, the totally gorgeous Viper GTS had arrived, a car to drool over, a car to dream about. And for the Chrysler team, a car to inspire the return to motorsport.
Chrysler has been involved in motorsports for all of its history. We're most known in the United States for drag racing, the Hemi-powered cars in NASCAR racing. But when you look at Le Mans, our history goes all the way back to 1931, and that was actually the last time we raced at Le Mans. Chrysler raced at Le Mans in the 20s through 1931. So it actually was 65 years where we had not been at Le Mans when we arrived with the Vipers this year.
Another thing that Chrysler is well known for is producing some pretty amazing cars, and the Viper is one of them. Did this inspire your return to motorsports?
When we originally did the Viper, it was strictly a concept car, and we actually weren't even going to build the car in production. But people had such an interest in the car, and were actually demanding the car, that the executives decided, well, let's actually try to build this car. And that was maybe, I think, the start of really interesting things at Chrysler.
To join them in their return to motorsport, Chrysler have two racing partners, the North American-based Kanaska Southwind and Team Orica, a French team founded way back in 1973 that has fielded some impressive names, Prost and Alessi amongst them. The Orica team employs 48 full-time staff and is based close to the Paul Ricard circuit in southern France. Orica have competed in Formulas 1, 2 and 3, as well as rallying, desert racing, super touring cars and in global endurance racing. It's the endurance racing that the Orica team and Chrysler are aiming to drive to victory in. And it was during Orica's preparation and testing for next season's championships that I managed to hitch a ride with Philippe and Olivier, two of the team drivers, and taking a few laps of the Paul Ricard circuit in Marseille. Preparation for the season is exhausting and intensive. The two Orica Vipers are monitored over every lap. Teams of engineers analyse the Viper's performance, its engine, the tyres. Nothing is left to chance. Everything entered into computer and analysed to produce the best possible performance from both the car and the driver. And believe me, when you see the preparation and expertise involved in getting one of the Vipers out onto the track, it's quite comforting when you know that you're about to get into one and let a man you've only just met take you to the limit in it, just so he can find out how well his Michelins hold the track.
Well, here we are at the Paul Ricard circuit in Marseille, in France. And of course, one thing about France recently is the lorry driver strike. Now, they've been on strike for 10 days and there is absolutely no fuel in the country. It's unbelievable. And you know this thing? It uses 2 litres of fuel for every lap that it does. What I want to know is, what are we going to do if we run out of fuel halfway around? Because I ain't getting out and pushing.
And what a performance this 2-seater Grand Touring Coupe gives. The 8-litre V10 engine produces a stupendous 615 horsepower, quite comfortably powering the Viper to speeds of around 280 kilometres on the straights. Exciting? Well, what do you think? I like to think I've had a full and varied life and done my fair share of thrilling things, but nothing can prepare you for the feelings that a few laps in a racing car can give you. The adrenaline rush is astounding and addictive. The pulse races, your heart leaves your body, and you'll either love it or you'll loathe it. Which was it for me? Well, I have to say, I loved it.
Well, I've got absolutely no idea what my heart rate is right at this minute, but I've got to tell you that that is the most exciting thing I've ever done in my life. And I know that life is never ever going to be quite the same again after that. Never.
It's a difficult car to drive because we are at the beginning of the car.
Of the development.
Yeah, of the development, and we have a lot of work to do. But we have a good base. Yeah, and good team, good engineers. I'm sure we'll win races very soon.
Well, there's certainly a good team and good cars, and I've got to say, very good drivers as well. There are some good drivers. He looked after me so well, and he brought me back in one piece. Thank you very much. As a company, Chrysler has a philosophy of racing what it actually sells. And when they were developing the Racing Viper, they tried to keep it as close as possible to the original GTS. Now, Chrysler's designers and engineers work closely with the Oreca team on development, which is quite unusual for a manufacturer. By doing this, they believe they can pick up valuable knowledge and information that they can then use in production of their road cars.
For the engineering group to have such an involvement is unusual. Normally, at least in America, motorsports programs are run out of the marketing department. And in this case, it's mostly engineering. And we've got 5 engineers that are full-time on the race car program, and they're right within Team Viper, which is right within Chrysler Engineering. So it's almost a small team within a team. But we also draw on all the resources of the Viper team. So at any time, any of the people in the Viper team can, and they're always willing to help. And we also find that anywhere in the company, people are very enthusiastic. So if we need help in a certain lab to do tests or do design work for us, that everybody within the company is willing and excited to help.
So what are the differences between the Viper road version and the motorsport version?
Well, the main change, and the one that's tough to see, is the body. The body, whereas it looks very close to the GTS body, the race car is made completely out of carbon fiber, and those parts come from Reynard in England. We work with them on the body. The rest of the car was all designed and developed at Chrysler, and the chassis is basically the Viper chassis. The suspension's right off the Viper with slight modifications. The engine, the transmission, all are very recognizable as Viper parts. So the car retains a lot of Viper heritage. And we looked at every part of the car, and if the part would do the job, we would keep it. And if we thought it wasn't up to the job, then we went right to the best racing parts we could get.
The Viper's endurance racing debut was at Daytona in February '96, and it competed for the first time on British soil in September '96 in the Brands Hatch 24-hour endurance race. At the 24 Hours of Le Mans, all 4 Vipers crossed the finish line, giving a Viper its first top 10 finish. Now, these results are made far more impressive by the fact that '96 was really a development year for the Viper.
It was a very quick program from when we actually decided to race the car, and we made our debut at Daytona, and we did have some problems there. But by the time we got to Le Mans, we'd fixed all of our problems, and we finished 3 out of the 4 cars that we raced, and one of them finished in 10th place overall, which was really kind of exceeded our expectations. Our goal was really just to be able to finish the race.
If the sight of the Team Oreca Viper going through its paces here on the track has filled your head with childhood dreams of becoming a racing driver, then it's not that impossible to turn those dreams into reality. If your numbers come up on next week's lottery, for around £200,000 you can order one of these from Chrysler and race it yourself at Le Mans. The one problem there, however, is you can't take it out on the open road. But this one you can. For £62,000 you can order this, the Chrysler GTS. All 10 cylinders of it.
Yes, it's crossed the Atlantic and it's on sale now in the UK. The Viper GTS may have started life as a design study, but it's now very much a reality. This is one serious car that you won't forget in a hurry. The sight of one Viper is amazing, but 2 side by side make an awesome sight, with the GTS road car capable of giving the racing version a run for its money in the performance stakes. It has an 8-litre V10 engine. It's capable of 450 horsepower and has a top speed pushing 180 miles an hour. In a world full of restrained, classy cars, the Viper stands out like a stripper at a garden party. On paper, everything about the Viper is wrong. It's too big, it's too fast, it's too powerful, too hard to see out of. It's even too hard to get into. But when you see it, none of it actually matters because it's just too gorgeous for words.
As you can see, this isn't a car that comes with any frills. You get electric windows, airbags and a stereo, and that's really your lot. It's simplistic, stylish, and it has a really raw feel about it. And to be honest, that's the whole point of the Viper. You see, this is one car that doesn't have to try too hard. The thing is, it's got you absolutely hooked before you even get inside it.
As you can imagine, the responsibility you feel when you're handed the keys to one of these for the afternoon is great. Putting the new Mondeo through its paces is one thing, but with Chrysler's Viper, it's a totally different ballgame.
You don't so much drive a Viper as coax it into action and marvel at the amount of power that this engine's great torque can create. 0 to 60 in around 4.5 seconds.
Although the steering on it feels fantastic and those enormous Michelins give tremendous grip, the gearbox can be quite tricky. The 6 speeds are very close together and you do need to work quite hard at it. The thing about the Viper is that there's almost a battle for control going on. What it really needs is 2 firm hands and a tremendous amount of respect. In turning the Roadster into the coupe, Chrysler have done far more than simply welded on a roof. Few of the body panels from the RT10 have made it onto the coupe. It's also significantly lighter. The target was to shed 30 kilos. They got rid of 36. The handling is now far less twitchy than the Roadster. Steering is more poised, and you need to be travelling at some alarmingly fast speeds to produce any style of tail wag. The Viper is actually far easier to drive than you would imagine. But beware of those non-ABS brakes. Hit them heavily and the Viper lives up to its name, flicking its tail end ferociously. It's capable of reaching colossal speeds on high roads, but if you hit a damp patch on a nasty bend in a low gear, then you'd better watch out. There's a couple of things that really take quite a bit of getting used to. One is how low down on the road you're positioned in this. You're looked down upon by absolutely everybody, from truckers to people driving Fiestas. The other thing is how often you're looked at. You try pulling up at a petrol station or a shop, just driving past a group of people in one of these, and they just stop and go. It's absolutely wonderful. For the first year of its production, the Viper will only come in one colour, azure blue, gift-wrapped from head to toe by 2 sleek white stripes. They're to remind us that the Viper's inspiration was the Shelby Cobra Daytona, the World GT Championship winner of the 1960s. Everything about the Viper has a purpose. Even the coolest brake light in the world, which is there to remind us it's a Viper. The Viper is without doubt an amazing vehicle that packs an incredible punch. And so it should at £62,000. It's the car of your dreams. But when you compare it to other supercars, you realise you actually get an incredible amount of power for your pound. If this car were a man, then I'm sorry guys, but I haven't met one of you yet who's quite as powerful, sexy or cool. Saying goodbye to it is a little bit like leaving someone that you love. It makes me want to throw caution to the wind and sell my house just so that I can own one. And one thing's for sure, after a day spent with the Vipers, driving is not going to be quite the same experience ever again.
Oh, it's so sad when you have to part with a good friend, but the checkbook, I'm afraid, said it was not to be. Well, we'll take a quick break now and then we'll discover the secrets behind the scenes at a high-tech test station in the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg. Hello again, you're watching 4 Wheels Good. And to keep those 4 wheels good, you need a decent set of tyres. There can be an army of experts and development scientists behind the scenes, as Peter now reports from Luxembourg.
This is the Goodyear Technical Centre in Luxembourg. Hundreds of tyre engineering specialists from more than 20 countries work at the centre, contributing knowledge and experience drawn from different areas of scientific expertise. Tyre design is a unique engineering challenge, combining rubber, which is soft and pliable, with metals and textiles, which are hard and stiff, is a most unusual exercise in engineering science. So once again, our friend the computer helps out in this particular department.
The first thing, it's a lot faster, and we are able to visualize the IDs with a lot of precision for sidewalls and also for the full tread, without altering any mold and any prototype.
How can you be absolutely sure, though, that the real tyre, when it's made, will have the same characteristics as you've worked out here?
For sure, on this system here, we only work the appearance. So to be safe on the performance side, we could transfer models from a CAD/CAM system with a lot of precision and rework these models. And the other way is to start with a new concept, with a new idea, and then send it over to a more sophisticated tool where we could apply finite elements and predictions to really predict the tyre performance later on.
It's very, very difficult to understand the behaviour of tyres, the composites which make tyres, and their interaction with the road surface. The sort of complexity we're talking about makes designing a jumbo jet child's play by comparison. It may not look much from the outside, but a tyre is a very complex animal. There are universities and technical centres all over the world looking for the answers we still haven't got.
So why is a tyre such a complex animal? Well, basically it's not just a lump of rubber. It is a very complex structure. Let's have a look at some of the parts. These are the beads, two hard steel wire hoops coated in rubber which are fitted on the flange. The plies, these are basically sheets of cord. Cord sheets manufactured by laying single synthetic fabric cords side by side in a thin layer of sticky rubber. One or more of these ply sheets shaped to the design structure and then turned around these beads to produce a strong reinforcing structure to support the other elements. The liner is a thin layer which holds in the air pressure. Shapers, they're narrow rubber strips which protect the plies from wearing against the rim. And the side wall, where the tyre bends to accommodate the vehicle weight, that's covered by very flexible rubber. It needs to resist abrasion from curb scraping. The shoulders, they're rubber pieces at the top of the sidewall, important when cornering. And on top of the plies are belts, a stiff hoop of metal cords coated in rubber. This stops the tyre buckling under road contact. The overlay is a fabric layer which reduces vibration. And then the bit we see, the tread. The tread is then added, the only element that makes road contact, made of rubber compound. Of course, if you've ever seen inside a real tyre, the elements are not pretty colours. Everything's coloured black by the carbon particles added to give strength. And of course, the better the materials, the better the tyre. And this is why a major part of the Goodyear Technical Centre here in Luxembourg is given over to materials research.
In the old days, it was very much experience and trial and error, with corresponding long product cycles. Now, the product development cycle has been compressed and compressed and compressed, not just by us and the market forces, but by the car manufacturers themselves. So what we have to do is develop predictive tools based on a computer which allow us to go through virtual tyre development. That is to say, we take the input from the car manufacturer, we design our tyre on the computer and run predictive models before we actually build a tyre. This allows us to really compress the cycle time. All the answers are not there yet. The tyre is a very complex animal, and the equations that we need to have to describe a tyre behaviour are extremely non-linear. So this requires very high computing power.
The first thing is very fast to generate new ideas. We could vary the design and so on without erasing everything. And you are able to visualize it at a very high quality without ordering any mold, any prototype. Yeah, I believe it's more and more challenging because the performance required become more and more difficult to achieve, because on one side we look to cost, to economy, on the other side we look to low rolling resistance, to ecology, noise and so on, and also to high performance, so it's a little bit a conflict there.
The business is changing now, that with all the drive to cut costs and be competitive, it is more and more common for the car manufacturer to approach us even before the prototype is fixed at the computer modelling stage. They will ask us to provide computer models of our tyres which they can fit into their computer models to design the suspension, get the required handling performance using quite high-tech computer prediction tools.
It must be important for you as a tyre company to get into bed with these car companies at that early stage, because it virtually guarantees that your tyres will be standard equipment on these new cars.
Absolutely essential. Absolutely. This is one of the competitive advantages that a company like Goodyear has, being there right at the beginning of the design stage.
Well, it's interesting to learn in that report the significance of computers in the design of modern tyres. And as we've seen recently, computers can even design entire cars, as is the case of the new Ford Puma, which we'll be driving very soon. But real car enthusiasts rely on their gut feeling and experience when it comes to working with cars, as we found when we visited Boyd Cuddington's hot rod factory in the States.
Anaheim, Southern California, and the home of Boyd Cuddington's hot rod factory, where they rarely work to a budget or a timetable. Quality overrides all other considerations here, and the bottom line is a customer's blank cheque.
And if I arrive here as a customer, what's the procedure?
Well, I'd bring you in and show you the whole shop and talk to you and kind of pick your brain a little bit to see what you really like, and then go and figure out what you want. Then we do some rough sketches and figure out what kind of car, and then actually go to a full size, not a full size rendering, but about a 5th scale rendering of what the car would look like. And then if you like that, and then you accepted that, then we'd have Chip, our designer, actually do a clay model and then work off of it from there. If it was a real exotic car like the 37 Roadstar we're doing.
Do you regard yourself as an artist?
Yeah, to a certain extent. Yeah, I think that it's an art form, and we're doing things in that form. But sometimes I don't like to be called an artist, you know. But I'd have to say we're in that family. Yes.
What is the average time scale from this to the finished product?
Most of the time, we takes a year and a half. On some of the projects we do, like with some of the magazines, we get deadlines for the covers and stuff like that. Shazoom was about a 6-month project, and Billy Gibbons' car was about a 6-month project.
Must be very impressive to work here and see top celebrities coming through the doors.
Yeah, I think sometimes that's the top celebrities mean something to everybody, but you know, we base our whole business off of the common people too. But the celebrities we did work for, like the Beach Boys, Al Jardine. We built Woody in a Deuce Coupe for him, and Billy Gibbons from the ZZ Top, you know, and of course Joe Rudke, who owns Mr. Gasket. And the other interesting project we're going to work on is not hot rod related, but it's we're going to do a guitar for Jeff Beck, and just because we're so familiar with doing aluminum milling and stuff like that, we decided we'd like to build a guitar for somebody, so we decided to do it for him because he loved hot rods so much. Most of our customers, almost 100% of them, take the cars and drive them, but they also like to just have them in their garage where they can look at them and admire them and stuff. It is like a piece of art, some of the stuff, but we also like to let everybody know that our cars are very drivable.
What's the Shazoom like to drive?
Shazoom is like driving a new Corvette. It's got the LT1 motor and all that stuff. Would you like to go take a ride in it?
Love to.
Okay.
Yeah, fascinating. Of course, the reason they like their shiny bits in America is that they usually have more sunshine to shine off things, if you see what I mean. Well, after the break, Stirling Moss will be persuaded to tell us about his secret, ideal new job. Hello again, you're watching Four Wheels Good, and someone who's made a living out of steering those four wheels towards countless victories is the legendary Stirling Moss. Let's join him in conversation now with our own Mike Rutherford at his Mayfair home.
Well, I'm going to spring it on the man, Stirling Moss, F1 legend, supposedly retired. He's got his bus pass, incidentally, and he uses it. But I hear there's a bit of a comeback on the car, Stirling, that you actually plan a career in the very near future as one of these pace car drivers that goes out following an incident in a Formula One or Indy race?
I would very much like to drive the pace car, because I thought in the Argentinian Grand Prix, which I'm sure some of our viewers must have seen, that the speed the pace car took them around at was ridiculous. I mean, it's annoying even in cars like I drive, the old historic cars, to go that slowly. They don't like it. And with the modern car, of course, the tyres go off, which didn't happen with me. I mean, my tyres we want to keep cool, but the tyres go off, the suspensions settle, and the cars become quite difficult. I mean, really quite difficult. And it could have been contributing to Senna's accident, you know, because there'd been the pace car just before that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's very dangerous.
I heard that in Buenos Aires it was a woman actually driving the pace car.
Apparently a very good-looking woman, and that's maybe why she got the job.
Yeah. In fact, just to digress for a moment, when I was in Buenos Aires last year, I couldn't help but think that by and large they were probably the most beautiful bunch of women I've ever seen anywhere in the world.
You didn't get to Chile then?
No, Chile.
Oh, Chile's not bad.
Really?
Well, I mean, it depends, you know, but I must say...
Let's forget about motorsport. Let's forget about cars. Let's talk about more important subjects.
No, but I've always thought, well, that's what motor racing was all about.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, really, but...
Right. So you reckon that you can beat Buenos Aires and that's Chile? That's where I'm going.
No, I think, I must say Buenos Aires is pretty good too.
Phenomenal.
Down Florida and so on, yes.
Oh.
Yes, beautiful derrieres.
Oh,
derriere,
it was, well, I better not tell you.
No,
the wife might be watching.
Not, exactly.
But women in motorsport, I mean, it's a subject that... Briatore, the boss of Benetton, of course, is always trying to bring a bit of glamour to the pit lane.
Yeah.
I saw a stunning-looking lady being photographed with I think one of the Jordans, one of the Benson Hedges Jordans cars. I mean, why not more of it? I mean, let's not. Come on, we're getting too politically correct, aren't we? You know, it's predominantly a male sport.
Yes.
I don't have any objection. I am not offended when I see blokes, semi-naked blokes. There's that advert on the TV, you know, where the guy comes in and takes his shirt off and drinks a cold can of drink and all the secretaries lust after him. If it's all right for the girls to do that with the blokes, why can't it be the other way around? I don't understand it.
Well, I must say, I really think that motor racing does need a female attraction around.
Yeah.
I also feel there are some ladies who are not necessarily competent to do Formula One, but certainly competent to do the lower echelons of racing. And in fact, we do see them. But racing, the thing you've got to remember, we've come forward a long way, because in the earlier days, in fact, when I was racing, women were not allowed in the pits at all at Indy.
You're joking.
I mean, no, I'm not. They were not allowed. There was no crumpet in the pits at all. Now, I don't even think the wives of drivers were allowed in there. I mean, it was like that bad, seriously.
And what was the reason for that?
I don't know. I really don't know why it was. Because over here, girls and wives and what have you do a tremendous service. They take the lap
I'm
times
sure they
and all that
do.
sort of thing. No, but you've got to keep the thing running nice and smoothly.
Keep the boys happy
Exactly.
back in the garage.
Exactly.
No, but seriously, I mean, if your wife is there and she's and she's a calming influence on you, and it makes you feel more comfortable, yeah, why not? It's maybe a
in Indy, certainly they could not. That I can assure you.
Right.
There are no women there in the pits at all.
Now, you suggest there that you don't think, I'm not sure you actually went as far as saying this, but you hesitated when it came to the prospect of women actually driving Formula One cars.
Oh, I think if a woman is good enough to do it, I think certainly she should.
But is she? Is there anybody?
I reckon there could be.
Yeah.
I mean, there had been that Lynn St. John, for instance, at Indianapolis, who qualified faster than Nigel, if you remember.
I also saw cause a huge accident a year or so ago, which I think ended the career of Danny Sullivan or somebody.
Really?
That seemed like it was her fault, but
yes,
not
but
that we're passing judgment.
Yeah, but listen, we've seen a lot of fairly high up Formula One drivers cause accidents too.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, Eddie, who drove so well, for instance, in Argentina, no doubt he did a terrific race. Eddie Irvine, yeah, and he did a great race in Argentina, I must say. He really did. He deserved to be second, and so on. But we've seen him do some pretty stupid things before now.
Sure. Do you think that there is any physical drawback, for want of a better word, for a woman in driving a Formula One car?
No, I think
has she got the strength to do it?
Of
the
course,
stamina?
a woman can have the stamina, the strength. I think the one thing probably that is most difficult for them is the mental strength of the strain, the mental strain rather than the physical.
Of course, a lot of women would argue they're stronger than blokes in that department.
No, I think women can stand pain better than men.
Really?
Oh yes, I do. I think
is this
women.
Personal experience you're talking from still?
Well, you know how it is. There's more. But no, I have a great respect for women. Actually, I must say.
Me too.
After all,
I love them.
on my third marriage, so I've learned a bit.
I mean, I think they're strong enough. I mean, my wife's built like one of those Russian shot putters. You know, she looks like an East European hammer thrower. She'd be, not sure she'd get her fat ass in the car, but she'd certainly be able to drive it. She's got the strength to do it.
Yeah, but has she? It's the mental thing. I think really when the chips are really down, I think the mental strain is enormous. Actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Now I'd go the other way. I'd say that when the chips are down, and you know the strain. I actually find the women are stronger when the chips are down. I'd rather be stranded on a desert island with a woman than a man.
Oh, so would I. But we're not talking about that. What about concentration?
Into that one, didn't I?
Can women concentrate as well as men? I don't know, because that's a very important thing in racing.
Mm.
And I just don't know. I mean, I'm not really qualified to say, but I would have thought that there must be something which is more mental and physical, like concentration or something, because I think women certainly have the ability to drive. My sister was a terrific driver.
Of course.
Still is, I hope.
And Pat Moss, a famous rally driver. Yeah. I think also a truck driver as well.
She also, yes, she does drive a truck. She drives, well, a truck.
Do my research.
She wouldn't like to call a truck. It's a horse box, really. But yes, no, but yes, she's very
it's
competent.
an HGV. It's
yes,
not.
Exactly.
It's not.
Oh no, sure.
It's not a Ford Anglia
but you
with
see,
a
driving
one
an
horse on the
HGV
back.
requires a certain skill.
Yes.
It doesn't require any brawn.
Right.
You know, I mean, because now they're so beautiful to drive these trucks.
Sure. Yeah.
Now, if you haven't seen our sister programme, The Rally Show, it's a chance now to meet its presenter, David Winstanley, who brings us this report from Spain, from behind the scenes of the Ford Rally team.
Bryn, we're here in Spain for Ford to announce a whole load of new initiatives on the Escort range. What's the biggest one that you've got?
I think the whole strategy revolves around offering freedom of choice to the customer. So we're offering 4-door, 5-door and estate cars all at the same price as a 5-door. And to add to that, LX and SI are now the same price, and 1.6 and 1.8 the same price. So you can actually get around 10 cars for one price at about 13.4. It's, you know, we really think that's offering choice.
That's quite a remarkable thing. Nobody's ever done that before, have they?
Not to my knowledge. I mean, we've been working on it for 6 months now to try and fine-tune it and get it right. And we're really excited about it. It's been well received so far by dealers and the odd customer we've talked to.
Stuart, you brought us out to Spain to see the Rally of Catalonia and also to drive the new Escorts. What's the idea of bringing us out here?
Well, I think we wanted to sort of give the journalists an opportunity to drive the new realigned Escorts, and it just happened to coincide with the Catalonia Rally.
We've been driving the Escorts now for the past 2 days, and I have to say they're really quite impressive. We're in a 1.8 SI at the moment, and the car's really very good. Suspension's very good, brakes are good, steering's very light, and whether it's the fast open road or the twisty country lanes that we're on, it's really very responsive. You can't really fault it if it's the sort of car that you want to drive. Now, you're the brand manager for the Escort, and obviously there's been various speculation in the papers recently that the Escort name might be scrapped. I mean, obviously you wouldn't want that to happen, but what ideas have you got?
No, personally I wouldn't. I mean, it's been with me for the same length of time as I've been with the company. It's one of those things that we always do with any new car. We research names. The philosophy very much is that the car makes the name, not the name makes the car. But we need to research it, and we're in that stage now. I mean, with Fiesta we did the same thing, and we came up with Fiesta. So, you know, it's not certainly not a foregone conclusion that we would ever change it.
No.
Well, that's all we have time for this week. Join us next week when Mike Rutherford will be showing us footage from his latest expedition and telling us about his preparations for the next, the legendary Camel Trophy in deepest Mongolia. So please join us then. From all of us here for the moment, goodbye.